joining us now for his very last interview as White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain. Great to have you on the show this morning.
This is your exit interview, Ron. Thank you so much for being with us.
Let's do it. Okay.
What was the least rewarding part of your time talking to us on Morning Joe?
Yeah,
always a pleasure to be here and happy to be here on my last day. Thank you, guys.
So let's talk about last night. Pretty strong reviews. And as you know very well, sometimes we don't give the president very strong reviews. But last night, very strong reviews from all of our guests. What was your take on how last night went?
Well, obviously, I also thought he did a great job last night. Look, the American people saw an optimistic president stand before the country, express his confidence in the country, make clear he is prepared to work with Republicans to finish the job on things like creating jobs, growing our economy, bringing prices down, police reform, all sorts of other issues, but also making clear he's prepared to stand up to the Republicans if they do want to cut Social Security and Medicare, if they are going to try to pass a national abortion ban. So they saw the president who has been working successfully on a bipartisan basis these past 2 years say that he's got a blue-collar blueprint to rebuild the middle class and asking Republicans to join him in finishing that important job.
Ron, good morning. I think most Republicans agree broadly with the idea of Washington working together, Republicans and Democrats doing things together. But I'll put to you the same question I put to Speaker Pelosi just a few minutes ago on our set, which is that practical with this Congress? Is that practical with a House of Representatives that was heckling the president last night and has shown no willingness to work with him? In fact, sitting on their hands as he talked about things most Americans agree on, making things in America, bringing down the price of insulin. Yeah. No applause for those lines. So how do you get to bipartisanship with this Congress?
Well, look, Willie, there have always been Republicans who've been fighting the president since day one, and obviously they're still in Congress and perhaps in larger numbers. But we have found these first 2 years here an ability to find Republicans in both the House and the Senate who are willing to come together around things like infrastructure and really fulfilling a 20-year promise to make this country leading the world again in infrastructure. You heard the president last night talk about his success in passing on a bipartisan basis the CHIPS bill to bring high-tech manufacturing jobs back to America. We invented the computer chip here. Let's make them here. Let's put people to work. Six-figure jobs, even for people who don't have a four-year degree. Surely there can be bipartisan support on continuing with that. And some of the things specifically the president talked about, where there should be bipartisan action, things like fighting cancer, the president's cancer moonshot, the effort to crack down on fentanyl at our border and in our cities and towns. These are things that really should not be partisan issues. We've worked with Republicans for 2 years. I hope we can continue to do so in the next 2 years.
Ron, I wonder if any part of you thinks you're going out at exactly the right moment in terms of your own career, because the next 2 years, after a wonderful State of the Union speech, are perhaps not going to be quite as rosy or glowing. I mean, you are facing a period in which the Republicans are going to launch investigation after investigation into Hunter Biden, the handling of Afghanistan, the handling of the border, a host of issues, and they're going to be relentless on those issues, and it's going to be in reality, very, very difficult to get anything else done over the next 2 years. And then you get into an election campaign in which the polls suggest a lot of Americans have real reservations about Joe Biden running again and about his age. And I just wonder whether you think you're handing the next team in the White House perhaps a little bit of a harder slate than you've had over the last 2 years.
Yeah, well, first, Kathy, I mean, I have a lot of confidence in Jeff Zients and the team here. They'll do a great job. But I'd remind you, when I showed up here for work on the first day 2 years ago, we had 3,000 Americans dying every day from COVID. We had a 9/11 event every day in this country from COVID. We had schools closed. We had businesses closed. We had the worst economic crisis we've seen in this country since the Great Depression. So we hardly were walking into a bed of roses here, and a lot of skepticism about whether or not we'd be able to make bipartisan progress. The fact that these seem like good times shows how much we've overcome, how much work we've done to get to this place. So people have been underestimating Joe Biden and his team for a long time. And if you look at the results we produced these first 2 years, I have a lot of confidence in the team's ability with the president to continue to make progress the next 2 years.
And you also walked into the White House 2 weeks to the day after the worst attack on American democracy since the Civil War.
That is for sure. So I guess as part of your exit interview, I'm curious what your advice is for Jeff Zients as he, in a few hours, takes the reign of Chief of Staff at the White House. What'd you tell him?
Look, what I told him, Mika, is that we have built the best team ever to work at the White House. Experienced, savvy, the most diverse team ever to work in the White House. The first time the White House staff has a majority that's female. And so I've told them I am leaving behind the most talented, determined, dedicated people. Listen to the team. They have the president's back. They have the vice president's back. If we keep on doing what's gotten us to this point, I think the sky's just the limit for what more we can do to finish the job in these next 2 years.
All right.
White House Chief of Staff, at least for a few more hours. Just for a
Thanks,
few
Mika.
more
Thanks,
hours.
Joe. Yes,
Ron
I appreciate
Klain.
it.
Thank you, Ron. Go Hoosiers. So.